Hello, I'm John with Roadkill Incorporated, and today I'm unboxing 3 MSX computers that I bought from Cairo, Egypt. So yeah, this box came from literally the other side of the planet. MSX, I've become aware of it just recently. MSX is a hardware standard developed by Microsoft in the 80s, and it was hugely popular all around the world, except apparently for the United States and the UK. It reminds me of something like Super Nintendo, where it's a sort of a gaming standard with cartridges that you plug in. Except with MSX, it was manufacturer independent. So you literally had tons of different big manufacturers producing all kinds of wacky MSX machines that kind of functioned the same, yet they looked different. They had different features, different quirks. Some of them are just really bizarre. And so, I'm into the aesthetics of computers and just weird looking stuff. So I had to get in on this and see what MSX was about. So yeah, let's open this up. And first off, you can see, comes from Nasser City, Cairo, Egypt, zip code 99999. Don't see that every day. And here we go. So I think this is a cartridge, which is exciting because I don't have any cartridges yet. And we have 3 machines here. And so yeah, I got the 3 AX170. I'll get these opened up and I'll be back with you. All right, so I got these unboxed in my kitchen, which is definitely not the ideal place, but hey, whatever. So these are MSX1 machines. In the world of MSX, there are sort of 3 generations. There's MSX, MSX2, and MSX2 Plus. These are the older MSX1s, you could call them. So this one has the Arabic characters, which is kind of cool to see. 2 cartridge slots. I didn't remember that this was on there, but I guess it is. Yeah, so this one is Perfect, manufactured by Daewoo. It's amazing that all these name brand companies made these machines, yet MSX is completely unknown in the United States. And I have to admit, I bought these purely based on how interesting they look, because I don't know enough about MSX to really judge them by any other criteria. So I'm trying to get a range of interesting looking machines. This one has the hit bit designation that I noticed some of them do. I don't know what that means at this point. I don't know if it's some additional hardware standard that it's complying with. I really don't know. This one has characters, graphic characters on the keys like a Commodore would. Kind of interesting. This one is a Sony. It says it's a Sony. So like I said, name brand companies made these. This one has a handle. I had no idea, just looking at the pictures. But yeah, it's got a handle. Pretty cool. Can't wait to walk down the street holding that. Yeah, I kind of freaked out when this one came out of the packaging because it didn't have the joystick, but it was bundled with the cartridge here. So that was a relief to see that it's got the joystick. Don't want to have a missing part in one of these things. And also, it was a relief to notice that the power cable is in this trapdoor, like that. Typically with these, it's just kind of hanging out the back, and it's not a removable thing. It's just hanging out the back. So again, I was relieved to notice that it was in that compartment there. So this one's definitely a curious machine. So I was also happy that this bundle came with a cartridge. I assume this is a really crappy, low-quality game because cartridges for these things go for a ton of money. I've seen cartridges for like $500. So, why would they throw in one that's worth a lot of money? I assume they wouldn't. So I'm not expecting much from this game, but I'm excited to have a cartridge because it's literally the only piece of software that I have at this point. I accidentally bought a bunch of cassette tape games thinking they were cartridges. I should have known because they were cheap, but yeah, so I have a bunch of cassette games that I'm likely never going to play because I don't think I'll be buying an MSX cassette player. But yeah, so I'll get these set up and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, I dragged the computers down to the dungeon, and to start with, just a couple minor things. So video out is an 8-pin round RGB connector, which I haven't really bothered to figure out because it also has composite out and audio. So I'll just cheat and use composite. The signal won't be as nice, but whatever. I'll use this old monitor of mine that I literally found on the side of the road, but I love this thing. I can use it with Amigas, Commodore 64s, now these. They have tons of inputs, and it's just so much more convenient than lugging around the old CRTs. I have those too, but this is what I find myself using. So anyway, that's video and audio. Power-wise, these are goofy machines. The ones from Japan have American power connectors because I guess they use the same power. The ones from Cairo, they appeared to have this connector. So I thought, okay, I need to convert the power. But then I got them and I realized that that's just an adapter. And I can plug this in here and they'll work fine. So there were only a couple that natively had this connector. And so I bought this power transformer converter to deal with that. Long story short, this wasn't working. It turns out it was used. It was supposed to be new. I had to swap a fuse because a fuse was bad. I learned that I need to switch that to 110 volts. But now it's working. It's switched to 110 volt, has a good fuse. And with the ones that natively have this connector, it does work fine. The thing is, though, I don't know if I actually needed to convert the power with this big crazy box, or if I just need the equivalent of this guy for these, one that converts this to the American plug. I don't know. Maybe I'll get one of those plugs at some point and see if I need this big box or not. All right, so we'll start with the Soccer brand, SAKHR AX170. Turn on the power. And there we go. They all have this kind of intro screen. And here's the main menu. It took me a while to figure out, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all of these machines have some software built in, which is actually pretty cool. So I'll hit 1. And this is a calendar type program, obviously in Arabic, so I don't know how to navigate it. Most of these machines make a clicking sound when you type, which is kind of cool, reminiscent of the Atari 800, that kind of thing. Hitting number 2 takes me to this screen, and there's another menu here, so I'll hit number 1. And now I'm in sort of a drawing program, and I can move the cursor. I don't know what I'm doing, obviously. And number 3 takes us to what looks like a database. And it is in Arabic, as you can see. We're typing right to left, which is kind of cool. Obviously, I don't know what it says, but there you go. Number 4 takes us to another database program, but in English. And number 5 takes us to BASIC, which is really cool. I mean, this is Microsoft BASIC 1.0. It's similar to a Commodore 64, and I can even type a program. The keys on these just really stick. I don't know why. Maybe they have cheap keyboards. But yeah, you have a full version of BASIC on these computers, which is really nice. So that's the AX170, but I also have an AX230 that I bought previously. They're very similar physically, except 2 cartridge slots there and 1 here. I assume the AX230 is an upgraded, newer version, although they both have 64K of RAM. The 2 cartridge slots are kind of a mystery. I assume one might be for RAM expansion. I've seen RAM expanders out there. Maybe you want to expand the RAM so you can plug in certain cartridges that are more advanced games. But then again, strange that the newer one would only have 1 cartridge slot. So the 230 seems to have an upgraded ROM or system software 1.01 1986. And it has more options in the menu. You can see there's an additional item in the menu. So if I hit 6, you get a list of games, and it's pretty amazing. These are some clones of commercial games, and you just pick a game, and they're pretty interesting. So here's a maze game, and you play them with the cursor keys.
Welcome to Hopper. Prepare for next jump.
Break in.
Welcome to Snake It.
And I've learned I can use a standard Atari type joystick. It actually works pretty well. Has 2 joystick connectors. And you get the idea. All in all, it's pretty cool that this computer has all these games built in. They're not that bad, and it's nice to have something in the computer so you don't need cartridges. So next I wanted to try the Sony HB101P. This is the hit-bit machine that I mentioned before, but unfortunately I realized it doesn't have a composite out. It just has, this one has a 6-pin video connector and just an RF adapter, no composite out. So I'll have to figure out the video situation for that one and won't be able to demo this in this video. Next up is the Daewoo Perfect. It's got a pretty cool intro screen. I don't know what it says, but it looks interesting. And it says version 3.3 and 1987, so I take it this might be a slightly newer version than the previous machines. It's got a menu very similar to the others, and the apps that are included are very similar. Here's the basic. Here's some music software, although I can't figure out what to do with it. Here's what looks to be some kind of file management system, maybe? I'm really not sure. And here's a word processor. This one's in English, but there is one in Arabic as well. I'd love to write an article on an MSX machine, but the problem is, how do you get the text out of the machine? So anyway, I think that gives you an idea of what's on this computer. I couldn't find any games. I may just not know where to look, but it does seem to have a different assortment of programs than the previous computers. All right, so for the grand finale, this is an MSX2 computer, as opposed to the MSX1s I've showed you before. This is a newer machine. This is from Japan, a Panasonic A1f, FS-A1F. This machine has a floppy drive in the front. I'm not sure what for. Actually, I could probably save that text file I was talking about writing. And yeah, MSX2 has better graphics, I assume more RAM, maybe a better processor. So we'll power it on. There we go. 128K, so twice the RAM. And as you can see, it makes some noise, and it's got a little bit more sophisticated graphics than the previous machines. It's got the same assortment of various programs and tools. This seems to have a little more than the previous ones we'd seen. I'll try number 7 to go to basic. And there we have basic. This machine seems to have a little more sophisticated file management system. You can see option number 4 there. 5, I guess, allows you to deal with media. Oh, look at number 3. Maybe you can connect a modem. 5 is for cassette tape. 1, I assume, is for word processing, maybe? I don't know. And whereas with the previous machines I was confused by Arabic, now I'm confused by Japanese. So, but I think you get the basic idea. And honestly, I think it's really cool that they included some software with these computers. I mean, how much harder is it to just throw a ROM chip in a computer and then give the user some basic functionality? It couldn't have been that hard. And you know, most American computers, you power them on and you just get a blinking cursor and you don't know what to do. So I think of this as kind of a step forward, really. Another random thought, I actually think the Commodore Plus 4 is probably an MSX ripoff, now that I'm thinking about it, because you have the built-in applications suddenly, and you also have the arrow keys. So no Commodore before this, or any American computer I'm aware of, had those features. So these two came out about the same time, And yeah, I think Commodore probably ripped off MSX. That's my guess. I don't think it would have been the other way around because the Plus 4 was a failure and MSX was a huge platform that was very successful. All right, now that I've shown you everything I can think of to show you about these computers, what about that Skyon game, Skyon? Let's try it out. So now let's try it on an MSX1 computer to see if there's any difference. So to me, this looks about the same. My guess is that this is an old MSX1 cartridge, so it's not looking any different on MSX2. From what I understand, I think the cartridges are backwards compatible, so an MSX2 cartridge could work on an MSX1, it just wouldn't look quite as good. Well, there you have it, a very surface overview of 5 different MSX machines. And I gotta stress, this is just scratching the surface. There are dozens and dozens and dozens of models and variations of these from all over the world in different languages, just all kinds of really, really crazy computers. Definitely go on eBay and just check out what there is to see. I apologize, I don't know more. I know a lot of the experts are probably watching this video and swearing at me the whole time because I'm so short on information. But anyway, I'm learning. I need to pick up more cartridges. I wish that there was some sort of SD card solution, like an adapter that plugged into the cartridge slot that let you load in hundreds of games on SD card or something like that, like there are for so many other retro computers. It's just logical that that would exist because the games are so expensive. I know there are repositories where you can download MSX games and play them in emulators, but it would be so much better to play them on the real machines. So anyway, I hope you learned something about these crazy computers that I didn't even know existed a couple months ago. And thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.